Welcome to Seriously Uncork Yourself. I am your host, Lynn Kuhn, and this is a podcast that brings to you a firsthand look at what it seriously means to meet people where they are in their life. Enjoy the experience from illusions to reality. Find out what it is to restore to high performance, renew your freedoms, and rejuvenate playfulness. I can't wait to share with you my experience and the experiences of many others in hopes that you feel inspired to renew yourself and live your best life. Thanks for listening. Now let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Today, I am so very excited and honored to have my special guest, Todd Burrier, here with me on my new podcast, Seriously Uncork Yourself. I really appreciate you, Todd, for coming on today and taking time out of your busy schedule, which I know that you are one busy man, and I do appreciate that so much. And I'd like to tell our audience, you're very welcome. Thank you for being here. And I'd love to tell our audience just a little bit about you. Todd is an entrepreneur. He is a speaker, a coach, a trainer, and an author. He has worked with organizations of all sizes across the United States and Europe for over the past 30 years. His training expertise include interpersonal skills, productivity skills, management, sales, and leadership. He just recently released his book, his last book, 3 Circles Living, Achieving Your Richest Life Possible. So that was a mouthful, and I just say that you have accomplished so much over the last years that you've been in business and taken care of yourself. And so will you just tell our audience just a little bit more about yourself?
I'm happy to, Lynn. Thank you. And again, it really is an honor to hang out with you. I know you have some pretty cool people on here, so it's it's an honor for me to be a part of that. So thank you. So first I live in New Bern, North Carolina, which is about 30 minutes from the beach on a beautiful river. I love to fish and crab. I am married for, actually in a month, a little over a month, I will be married 32 years to an amazing woman. We have 2 kids, 2 adult children. My son is 31 and he's married, and my daughter is getting married in November, which is very interesting thing to think about. You shared a little bit about what I do, which it's still strange for me to hear someone say those things about the things that I do, because I don't see myself that way. I'm just a regular guy and had a really rocky road for a long time. I used to say the first half of my life, but now I'm old enough where the first 28 years are no longer the first half, right? So
yeah.
To say the first, that first 28, 29 years of my life was, man, it just wasn't, I never would have imagined that, I would do the things that I do. And I've really struggle with low self-esteem. I've got a lot of chemical issues just in my nature where, I wake up more often like Eeyore than I do like Tigger. And, a lot of self-esteem issues and introversion, and really was just pretty much a train wreck and a quitter for a lot of my first part of my life. And then, I think getting married was kind of the turning point for me. There's other things I could point to, but having responsibility for a family and someone other than myself, and I couldn't just go, and life doesn't work, and poor is me, woe is me. I had to actually face the music and make something happen, and I've been very blessed over the last 30 plus years now. And so that's a little bit about me, but I think I want to emphasize that I'm just a regular dude. I'm no smarter or better than anybody else. I do work hard at using what God gave me, just like everybody's supposed to use what he gave them. And that's pretty much it. I will say that, you mentioned my last book. I hope it's not my last book, my most recent book. I hope it's not my
Latest book.
last one, but
I hope it's
I
not
don't
either.
know. We'll see.
I hope it's not either. A latest book. Yes. And I give you lots and lots of kudos for even writing. I would love to write, but I start and I stop. I start and I stop. And they tell you, from what I understand, you can, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard just to go ahead, just write. And then worry about chapters and all that kind of stuff later. And I do. And I'm not very good as far as, writing correctly. But they said, don't worry about that. Just start getting everything down on paper, but yeah, you have accomplished a lot. And I am amazed with the last book. I mean, I've read it and it's awesome. It's a way to live your life. And I know even with myself now, getting back into life has been really difficult. And with the surgeries that I went through and getting your body back into accepting things, because, being under anesthetic, it's like all those chemicals and you're trying to get that out of your system and out of your, your stomach, problems that I've had from that. And so living your life, and what we're talking about today is achieving your richest life, and that is the name of our podcast, and that all coincides with the book that you have written. And in that book, you basically separate it in 3 different areas, right? And do you want to explain those?
Yeah. So the genesis of the book, Lynn, was really kind of followed the path of my evolution and started, literally it started back in the late 80s, early 90s when I had started my very first business, and I was doing what people do when they start a business. I was working like crazy, and I was doing it at the expense of my health. And the reality is that my genes are not, my genetic predisposition doesn't appear to be one where I'm supposed to live very long, based on the males in my family. and also I had a lot of health issues as a young man. And, so my health was deteriorating pretty fast while I was working really hard, 16 hours a day to build a business. And I wasn't showing up in my marriage. And, I started to have some success in that business and realized, how come I'm so miserable? Isn't money and success supposed to make you happy? And, and then I think a lot of people buy that because they never really sit down and think about what's their life about. And, and I realized, oh my gosh, I am absolutely, I am blowing off 2 things that I would gladly give every penny I have to get back if I lost them. And it was like I made this abrupt stop and said, wait a minute, I have to figure out how to do this different. And I began doing a lot of introspection, a lot of reading, and I came up with this way of living that I call 3 circles living. And the irony of it is that, it is almost, you can't say it's cultural, because especially the US, our culture isn't even a culture. It's just a mixture of people, right? But it is very societal to put so much emphasis on money and materialism that, that we wake up one day later on in our life and go, oh my gosh, this isn't remotely what life is about. Not saying that believe me, I've had no money. I've been bankrupt and I've had lots of money, and it's way better to have lots. And I got no problem with money. This is not about the evils of money. This is about sacrificing or getting the order of priorities wrong and making money useless to the joy in your life. And so I came up with this concept that I lived, where it was about self-care first, and not selfishly, not self-care first. So you could be the best looking dude on your block, or that you could be super dude, but self-care, because you can't be the best. You can't be the best for the people you love unless you take care of yourself. And that's just the truth. And so, the reality is a lot of people don't like taking care of them. A lot of people don't like going to the gym and exercising or trying to eat right, and that's because they're thinking about themselves. If you take that out and you think about the people you love, they deserve your best. They deserve you to show up. And really, that's all they care about. They care that you show up. right? That you show up and that you give attention and you're fully there. And that takes energy, not just physical, but emotional. And that requires taking care of yourself. And so I started focusing on that first. And so that I call that the health circle, but it's bigger than just physical. It's the whole picture. It's spiritual, intellectual, emotional, developmental. And then from there, the next circle is relationships. And, let's be real. If your health isn't right, nothing is right. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what your position is. If your health is not good, your life is terrible. And if your love life is not good, same thing, right? You might be physically okay, but you're like a shell of a human being, right? You're never anywhere that you are because you're so preoccupied. You have that grinder in your stomach. But when you get those two pieces right, when you get when you get your relationships right and you take care of yourself, the way you can show up in the world is mind-boggling. And yes, I know there are statistical outliers in every model, but the bottom line is life is a bell curve, right? And so if you want to be on the statistical best end, if you want to be the outlier of having the richest life possible, you take care of yourself first and then the people you love. And then you apply that along with developing yourself into your pursuits. And your pursuits will take care of themselves because you'll be the kind of person that people want to be around, that people want to do business with, that people want in their organizations, right? And so, it's not a concept; it's a platform for living. And the reality is, and if you don't mind, I'll give you this one more little nugget. But
no, keep going. I love it.
Everything that we do ultimately is driven by our values, our principles, and our beliefs. Everything.
Absolutely.
Right? Now that's either conscious or unconscious. For many people, if they're not purposefully working on themselves, then they're unconsciously doing it, right? Like they don't understand why they're afraid of a certain thing. Well, it's because of a belief, right? But they don't understand that belief. They might not know it's a limiting belief, and it's not true because a belief is just a thought you continue to think. It doesn't mean it's true. And the same with values and principles. And so this platform became the base platform for how I live life and how I've taught and coached. There's lots of people I've taught and coached, and when I'm training a leadership team for a company, whether I'm teaching my own teams and my own businesses, whether I'm coaching entrepreneurs, this platform is at the center. Because if you don't get this right, doesn't matter what else I teach you, because your life isn't going to work out very well. You might become successful in an area, but you won't have a successful life, right? And that's the gist of the richest life. And the further the add-on to that is, and this is my overarching mission, right? Is that achieving your richest life means growing to your highest self, and your highest self is what's necessary for you to make your unique contribution to the planet. There's a reason why everybody's different, right? It's because we're supposed to fit together and bring our gifts and our, affinities and our passions and talents to the market, not try to be like everybody else, but uniquely be ourselves,
right?
Because that's how we're best going to serve. And so that's the entire mission, right? It starts there, but it all starts with self-care. That is the first circle.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know that so well this last, couple of years of my life. And it's like, I've always been that person to take care of myself and to make sure that my, everything works. Because if you put it this way, if you, like you said, if you don't take care of yourself, nothing else works, and even going back to 9 years ago when, I made the decision, or the decision made itself for me, we can go either way on that. When I decided to not drink anymore, and, it was one of those things that it was, I had to do it, and I had to figure out how to do it. And I think that relates also to people don't realize how to stay at your true best self and how to stay healthy. And for me, that's always been a goal of mine, to always stay healthy, try to stay in shape, because I feel better. And if I'm feeling better, everybody else around me is going to actually, be better, because they're going to be treated better, because, when you're that essential, like with me and my husband, we're both remarried and we have, the 6 girls, which now we have an extended family. We're having our 11th grandchild coming in January.
That's awesome.
I'm really excited about that. It's my baby's having her first baby. And, but yeah, and what my point was too, was that this last couple of years, with my, physical health of something that, was unknown to me that was going to happen. It was one of those really crazy things, surgery went bad and it left me with now that one surgery. I have to do 6 surgeries to make that surgery, to make myself whole again. And it's been hard. And, and you got a person like yourself and I've always exercised. I used to teach at the Y and, all that kind of stuff. And that's taken away from you. Boy, that's a life change. It really, truly is. And, and then I look at other people that have lost, like with me, I still can't walk without this crazy boot thing I have on, but I had to go for, almost 4 months without being able to walk. And I'll tell you what, they take that away from you. You don't realize how, oh my gosh, how you just take things for granted. And so, yeah, it was a huge eye opener for me. And I'm just so much looking forward to getting back so I can exercise. But I have, then going through surgeries, I got very sick, through those surgeries too. So now it's good. First, I got to work on myself and getting my body. And it's day by day. It's a process, day by day. Nothing happens overnight. And right. I believe that.
Not a value.
Yeah. And so many people think that, all because they, let's say they have this where they can't lose any weight. Let's just say that's everybody has problems with maybe not everybody, a lot of people. Some people have problems gaining weight and some have, taking it off. But if people just, go back to the center and like what you talk about in your book is, you making yourself whole and healthy and not try to keep on focusing on that weight loss. Let's just make it healthy, get yourself healthy first. I mean, I think that's just so important. If we don't have that, we don't have anything, and I always say that this excludes God because God is the forefront in my life. And I get talking and I always say, well, wait a second here. God is first in my life, and then other things fall into place too. But then again, you have to take care of yourself.
Well, just keep it on the earthly. In the earthly realm, right? You got to take care of yourself.
Right.
Not to mention depending on your spiritual walk, right? You were blessed with your specific set of skills and gifts and strengths and etc. And it's your job to not just take care of that, but to develop it. And so taking care of yourself also allows you to have the freedom and the energy to develop yourself, right? Which you either develop yourself on purpose or the world will develop you based on how it shapes you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. So true. And sometimes I think that is the easy way out is to letting the world shape you, because anything you do that is well worth doing is not easy, right. And it does. And it does take time. It takes dedication and it takes mindset. And you're really good with the mindset too. You teach a lot about that. Do you want to talk a little bit about the mindset part of this?
Well, again, mindset goes back to that idea of values, principles, and beliefs, right? I kind of look at things like those values. Think about values, principles, and beliefs are the bottom of the platform of the pyramid. And then the next layer of the pyramid up are your priorities. And the next layer up are your goals. And the next layer up are the actions. And the next layer up are your plans, right? And at the bottom, your beliefs and principles, etc. Those things are written in pen and blood, right? It's not, you don't change those very easily. and so as you go up at the top, that becomes more changeable. And when you pull that into mindset is just about finding your guideposts, right? And then getting in the right place. Where it's not optional, right? So in other words, when you develop the mindset that taking care of yourself is not optional, then you remove the if I feel like it, if I have time, right? It's the same for anything, right? So it comes down to getting your priorities straight and then executing in them and not giving into, oh, I'll do it if I feel better, or I'll do it when I learn this, or I'll do it when it's right, or I'll do it when I retire, or I'll do it when no, you won't. if you're not going to do it now, you're probably not going to do it. And so it's more, again, mindset comes, for me, right? Mindset gets to be, it's not about me. Nothing's about me, right? I mean, I'm here to serve my family and serve what the work that I do, etc. Yes, I have to take care of me, and yes, I'm a human being. I do have needs like everybody else, right? But the truth is, I'm not here just for me. I'm not here to see what I can get, to see what I can consume. That's pretty empty, all right? You look at people who have, I don't even want to call it good fortune, but people would call it good fortune if someone hit the lottery, or they just had they had an idea and it blew up and got really big, right? What happens to people who suddenly have enormous success way before they grew to be the person who really could develop that, right? And that happens, right? It's that outlier thing, right? They self-destruct, right? Because you can't handle that, right? Because then it's all about, right? I remember hearing Jim Rohn say, money will only make you more than what you already are. And that is so true. And you know this, right? If absolutely. Someone is given to alcohol and they get a ton of money, what are they going to do? They're going to drink all day, right? And it doesn't have to be, that could be anything, right? If they're crazy about video games, they'll play video games all day because it's about self. And so mindset is going, all right, these are the guideposts, and it's not optional. You remove the options because you live by the principles. And, it's always got to come first, right? When I'm teaching entrepreneurs, or I'm teaching sales, or I'm teaching leadership, or whatever, it's always starts with mindset. Why are you here? What is the value of this? What is the purpose of this? Understanding all the why aspect. And that's not just a rote thing. It's not just a fun thing you got to know your why. Yes, you do. You really do. And your true why is not something you're going to know in 10 seconds. If it takes you 10 seconds to get to your why, then you tried to make it easy. And here's a simple philosophy. Whatever's easy is going to be harder long run. Bottom line. The harder path makes life easier. I know nobody likes to hear that. Simple is not to be confused with easy.
That's right.
Simple can be difficult because it's going to take time, but mindset drives everything. So again, going back to those 3 circles, that stuff is, the mindset is, this is the way it has to be. It's not optional. I don't have the option of waking up in the morning and saying, I don't feel like working out. It doesn't matter what I feel like. I'm going to go work out, right? I'm going to put the right things in my body. I'm going to go work out. Doesn't mean I don't have fun. I like to have fun. Right. But, when it comes to my work, I work for myself, and I have for over 30 years. Nobody has to say, Todd, go to work. My mindset is, it's not optional. If it's not, do I feel like making a phone call? It's not optional.
Right.
Yeah.
You want your business to grow, and it's all progress. It's all a process. It's all, like with me, it's, you never know when you're going to get thrown a curve in there, especially with, kids and life itself. But if you keep on that steadfast where you're going to do it, and you're going to do it, and you keep going, and actually it becomes a joy. Because I even know, back in the day when I was, teaching at the Y, and, my classes there, and it didn't matter. I mean, I took my kids with me, and people would say, well, you just had a baby. Well, I actually taught until a week before I had babies too, because that was what I've always done. And, and if it's just one of those things, is just not something that you give up. It's something that it's no excuses. You have to go and you have to do it. It's just the way it is. And, and then as life progresses, I think that all ties in together. And then you do have a fulfilled life, and things change, you might think that you want this one day, and, something in your business changes, and that's fine. But as far as your core values have to stay. They have to stay in that process of moving forward with them all the time.
And they evolve a little bit too. Right? I mean, that's, and when I'm showing or teaching the evolution of someone, right? Which starts with going after pursuit. This is actually very I talk about this a lot in a new digital product I'm going to release very soon.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It's called the U series. You may remember I did this.
Oh,
U
yeah,
series.
I do.
And so I went ahead and recorded all that. It's not quite ready yet, but that will be a soon to be released digital product. And you talk about once you set a goal, people are focused on that accomplishment, but what they really don't recognize is achieving a goal of any sort, right, is very temporary, right? It's just, you accomplish it, it's done. And so going after an accomplishment is a temporary thing. What's permanent is the person you're becoming in the pursuit, which is why it's important to be purposeful in that, right? I mean, when I shared my journey a little bit, back in 1990, I started doing personal development 15 minutes a day. And then that evolved and learning on purpose. When I first learned about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, why wouldn't anybody do this? I mean, this is the stuff. And so when you then add purposeful personal and professional development to who you're becoming as a result of the experience, then you accelerate on the path of accomplishing something. And so the beauty of it is, it's not, the goal's almost insignificant because it is who you become in the process. That's permanent. And that's what you can apply to the next thing. But there's a third journey that is going on, and that's the value shift. And so you see this a lot in the entrepreneurial world where someone starts an adventure because they think they can make a lot of money at it. I know a lot of entrepreneurs start ventures because they love the thing they're doing. Right. That's a normal thing. But more often than not, it's especially earlier in life, it's a dollar pursuit. Or it's driven by some other value that says, this is why I want to do this. But as you grow and develop your values, you don't lose core values, you add core values. Right. So your value journey expands and certain values become, I don't want to say rigid, they become immovable, right? So the first value that drove me into business was freedom. That's because that was before I had a family. It was the beginning of a family. But then once I had a family, it was like freedom, but family. So those two values, if something didn't work within those two values, I wouldn't do it. And then the next thing was service, because I knew how good that made, selfishly, how good it made me feel to know that I helped somebody. Right. And so now everything has to fit in those three areas. I have to have my freedom. It has to be best for my family, and the freedom to be with family when I choose. And then it has to help others. And then within that, it falls into the three circles. You see what I mean? That's how the values and principles, and then you're living congruently in life. One thing people don't recognize, if you don't go on this journey on purpose, you end up living incongruently. That's why 70% of the workforce doesn't like their job, because they've never tried to figure out what they actually want to be doing. Yeah. They don't know what really relates to their skills and their values and their strengths, or what makes them feel good, or where they belong, right? What's their highest use of themselves. And then that means you're living a significant portion of your life, because you work 25% of your life, almost 25 to 30% of your life you work, right? Yes, and you do. If you're not doing work you love, that's cognitive dissonance. That's stress. That's actually unhealthy, right? But people don't realize it until they get a little bit older and get past that. When you're younger, you worry about what everybody thinks. And then by the time you're in your 40s, you're like, well, maybe I don't really give a crap what other people think. And then when you're 60, you're like, oh, nobody was ever thinking about me anyway. And so true. Somewhere around that 40 mark for a lot of people, maybe earlier, that's when people start to go scratch their head and go, am I doing the right thing? What's this all about? What am I doing? Right? Because they can't figure out the holes. And that's actually part of the whole three circles process, is gaining confidence and skills and development and getting things in the right order. And then you have the freedom to go do the things you feel like you actually should be doing. And then you get your life in alignment with who you actually are, and you're operating congruently. And you know what? It doesn't mean life's easy. Doesn't mean it's without hardship, but it's a whole lot better than the alternative.
It's a hell of a lot better. That is for sure. Oh my gosh, I just love that. But yeah, you've touched on a lot of points, even through my life, and thinking now and then looking back. And it's just like, the things that I chose, I may not have chose what I really wanted to do because I was afraid to do it. And now that I look back and I sometimes I think to myself, oh, Lynn, why didn't you go and become this, or why did you stay at that job? But it's just like everything, like I always believe everything works, like there's a purpose, because if I didn't do what I did then, I wouldn't be where I'm at now either,
Sure.
so now I realize things differently, and what my goals in my life right now are completely different than what I thought that they would ever be, and so it's just getting there. And sometimes people get there sooner than others. I mean, I was sort of late on the whole, idea, because I was always worried about what I had to do, how I had to take care of my family, and I let myself be the last person thinking that that's what I had to do because that was a noble thing to do. And it really isn't, and then even when I first started back into entrepreneurship, who was the one that suffered the most? Myself, because I thought I had to work and learn all this stuff and grab here, grab there. And then I wasn't taking care of myself either at one point at the very beginning, until I realized that was really stupid. Why was I doing that? And so that's why I love your book so much, because it really does. It talks about, like our relationships, spiritual, and then, what it is to keep ourselves healthy, and mind. Mind and body, both.
What you just described, right? And this is not to be gender specific, but it is just the truth. Mm-hmm. It's a bigger issue for women than it is for men. I mean, men have their own set of issues, but mm-hmm. Women are so much the caretaker, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't understand. And I probably have tomatoes thrown at me for saying that, but they weren't, and that's not that you don't understand it. It's just not aware of the fact that, it's okay to take care of you, and it's okay to pursue what's on your heart. Not only are you not taking away from the people you care about, you're setting a great example for them, and mm-hmm. you are serving them best by taking care of yourself, and able to take care of them longer, right? So it's only a mm-hmm. And I only know this because I've had a lot of women in my courses over the years who were like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I heard this, or I wish I heard this sooner. My perspective is regret is a waste of time. Apply it forward, right? Just mm-hmm. apply it forward, because you can't go back and change. What you said is so true. You can't go back and change anything, because any change changes everything. And so if you say, I wish I had done blah, 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 then what you're really saying is, truthfully, what you're saying is, I wish I didn't have the life I have now. I wish I didn't have mm-hmm. the people in it. I wish I didn't have my experiences. No, that's not it. You got to apply it forward. Right. And then, that whole thing with regret, my mantra is, going forward, once you're aware, you're only really going to regret the stuff you didn't do. So just go ahead and do it. If it's in your heart to do something, try it, because otherwise you're going to regret not trying it. If you try and fail, you're not going to regret trying and failing, right? Then you're going to go, okay, I gave it a shot, right? And you're going to learn from it, and it'll be a springboard for something else. But it's really a good point that you brought up.
Yeah, I know. It is a lot of it's trial and error, and and even with the business. I mean, I went into some endeavors that were just, you could look at it as a loss of finances at that time, but then I look at it like, I needed to go through that, because now I see things so differently.
That's the price of the education.
Yeah. And so it just moves you that much, more forward. Just like even starting this podcast, I wanted to do it for years, and then I kept on telling myself, no. And now that I finally have, I'm enjoying it immensely. I just love it. I love doing this. I love talking to people. And
you're going to help people from this, Lynn. I mean, you're going to have, I know the kinds of people you're going to have on, me excluded, but you're going to have people on that are going to make a difference in people's lives. That is really a cool thing. And it's not about, will you become super famous? Maybe, but it's not about being famous. It's about changing a life. If one person has their life changed, it's not one person. It's everybody they touch gets affected by that.
Exactly.
Right? I mean,
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. It's a cool thing you're doing.
Yeah.
My hat's off to you.
Well, thank you so much. So I think that we're at the end of our time together to keep it so people can listen to the whole thing. I told myself, we got to keep it. Unless we're going to, like, sometime maybe we'll do a teaching, something we'll do. We'll have to talk about that. We'll have to do
I'm an open book. If it can help people, I'm open.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that'd be awesome. But I want to, before we go off of here, Todd does, and I'll have this all in the show notes, so you guys don't have to run out and grab a piece of paper, but I'll have in there, toddburrier.com. We can go to his website. He does have a landing page called Jumpstart Guide, which is really cool. It's free. And so I'll have the whole link in there for you guys. And is there anything else you want me to put in besides those two?
No, if they go to the site, right, I coach, I train. The Jumpstart Guide is, in lieu of getting the book, a way to get started in some of the work. I mean, the book will really help. It's called 3 Circles Living. You can get it through my website to Amazon, or you can go on Amazon and look it up. Yeah. But I'm just telling you, if you read the book and you take it to heart, it'll help you. It'll help you a lot. It does. It's an awesome book, you guys. You're going to have to go out and get it. I mean, I just love it. And I study from it. And it's one of those kind of books that, you can start it, you can put it down, or you can just spend it, I'm a slow reader. So it takes me a little bit longer because I'm the type that I read something and I highlight everything that I think is interesting. And then I end up highlighting like all the pages. Yeah, me too. I do the same thing when I destroy a book. Nobody can read a book after I've read it. I do. But it's a book you can pick up again too. And you can go and if you're thinking of something, it's easy to find, and you can go ahead and you go, oh, that's right. You mentioned that here or there. And I loved it. I love the book. I got your other book too. And I don't remember the name of it. Tell me what the name of it is. I can't remember. It's the green one. I was reading that. The green one's called The Process. Right? That's a very simple book for people who are trying to build something from home. There's the process too. There's a leadership book in the home business arena, because I spent a lot of years there. And then my very first book was about life balance, and I have a couple more in the works. But the 3 Circles is. That's the platform I teach everywhere. I'm asked to speak on it all the time. I teach, I have companies that buy tons of those books to give to their entire employee base. I mean, it's a helpful book. It is. It's very good. So, okay, Todd, this is the end of our hour, or not hour, or half hour, whatever we just spent now. And I really do appreciate you coming out today. And I wish I was there. I wish I was where you're at. You guys can't see this, but behind him is the river, right? And it's beautiful today. It's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm going to have to come out and eat some of that crab. Yeah, well, you got plenty of room for you, Lynn. I love it. Okay, thank you so much. All right. Lynn, thanks for having me. So honored to be here. Appreciate you. See you later. Thanks. Thank you for tuning into the show. I hope this brought out your passions, ignited you, and inspired you to restart and reclaim your life. Please subscribe to my podcast and feel free to leave a rating and a review. Until the next episode of Seriously Uncork Yourself, you can check out more information at lynnkuhn.com. That's Lynn, L-Y-N-N, Kuhn, K-U-H-N.com. Be sure to tune in for my next episode. Sending you all peace and love until our next time together. Seriously, uncork yourself.